Lifestyle vlogger Jordan Cheyenne posted a tearful YouTube video from her car updating her 538,000 subscribers on Rosie, the family puppy, as her 8-year-old son sat sobbing in the passenger seat. The dog was battling canine parvovirus, a frequently fatal disease. After asking for prayers, Cheyenne signed off her September 8th video. I love you guys. Bye. Or so she thought. The camera kept rolling as the influencer instructed her son to look more upset for the video's thumbnail. Act like you're crying, she says, demonstrating an anguished expression. The boy replies, But mom, I'm actually crying. The video quickly went viral, prompting a flood of outraged comments ranging from concerned to vicious. Cheyenne said she received death threats as well as messages about her child that were so past the level of cyberbullying and harassment. This troubling episode renewed the debate about using children for online content, a money spinning move for many influencers and the platforms that host them, YouTube being the most popular, but one fraught with ethical pitfalls and few legal protections for minors. Cheyenne did not respond to Newsweek's request for comment, but following the immense backlash, she issued several apologies, including to her son, and announced she would stop involving her child in future videos and take a break from YouTube to focus on his mental health. I am disappointed in myself that in that moment, I prioritized the YouTube, the thumbnail, the acting over my son's genuine emotions, she said, during an appearance on the Dad Challenge podcast. A child's presence in YouTube videos can rake in considerable profits. In 2019, the Pew Research Center found videos with children who appear to be under the age of 13 received 3 times as many views as other videos. 9-year-old Ryan Kaji, star of the Ryan's World YouTube channel, topped Forbes' 2020 list of highest paid YouTubers, estimated to have netted $29.5 million from his content and product lines. But in a social media ecosystem where child welfare remains an ongoing problem, YouTuber parents whose activity ranges from extensively vlogging their children's days to casually divulging details about their kids' personal lives are a cause for concern. These parents operate in an expanding and virtually unregulated niche of the wider influencer industry, though Newsweek has learned of one New York lawmaker's initiative to bring the children under the protection of state law, at least. Sharenting has now become an increasingly professionalized business in which influencer parents and kids across a host of platforms can amass millions of online followers and land lucrative sponsorships. Some family influencers get paid by brands for endorsing their products or sell their own branded merchandise directly to viewers. Many more earn income via Google's AdSense program. Google owns YouTube. YouTubers can opt to let AdSense pick relevant ads from a pool and put those ads on before their videos. Google shares the ad revenue with the poster, and the more viewers that click on the ad, the more the content creator gets paid. The pursuit of internet fame and dollars may pose serious potential dangers to the kids who appear in popular parenting vlogs and other family social media. A look at Twitter, Reddit, or the comment section of almost any major platform proves the internet is often a very ugly place. And while the business of family social media is big and growing, there are few meaningful safeguards for kids' privacy and safety, both from media companies like YouTube and from existing law. All of that has experts on children's rights and development worried. In many cases, the kids who wind up in commercial sharenting are too young to understand what's going on or to give any type of consent or knowing involvement, said Leah Plunkett, Assistant Dean for Learning Experience and Technology at Harvard Law School, and author of Sharenthood: Why We Should Think Before We Talk About Our Kids Online, MIT Press 2019. If there is content going out about them when they're 3 years old that they may be pretty uncomfortable with when they are 13, that content is not going to go away. Additionally, For kids whose parents do not have a good sense of boundaries and of appropriateness, sometimes the commercially sharented content can be pretty uncomfortable or even, in more extreme cases, constitute or abuse or neglect. A prominent case saw a Maryland couple, Mike and Heather Martin, who ran the infamous Daddy-O5 channel, lose custody of 2 of their 5 kids and end up sentenced to probation for child neglect. The Martins' content involved inflicting emotional torment onto the children under the guise of pranking. In one, the Martins falsely accused their 2 sons of having made a mess by spilling ink, screaming and swearing at them while the children cry and plead with their parents. In another, Mike Martin taunts his distressed young son, then shoves him into a bookcase as the boy tries to rush past his father. Their channel had more than 700,000 subscribers, and their videos were watched millions of times. The Martins subsequently took the videos down and issued public apologies, but also said they were just an act. We were going for shock value. Heather Martin told a local TV station, "What you see on our YouTube channel is not a reflection of who we are. It's not. It's a character. It was a show. A bad show, but it was a show." Last year, family vloggers Micah and James Stouffer gave up a 4-year-old autistic Chinese child they had adopted to another family, saying they could not care for him properly. They had already thoroughly documented and monetized their 3 years with the boy, including posting videos of his adoption process, medical issues, and meltdowns. In one video, the child could be seen with duct tape on his thumb to prevent him from sucking it. In 2020, the Stofers had about 1 million subscribers on 2 YouTube channels. Major brands that had sponsored Micah Stouffer included Playtex Baby, Suave, Fabletics, Chili's, Danimals, and Big Lots, ended up severing ties with her. Beyond accusations of neglect or abuse, the mere practice of tracing an extensive digital footprint for kids can cost them their development, safety, and future. And when the grown-ups are mired in controversy, characteristic online pylons also target their children, who are often fashioned as bludgeoning tools to bash their own parents. Whether internet famous parents share invasive tidbits or go viral for the wrong reasons, children are left to suffer the consequences of actions from adults who are meant to protect them. While critics have zeroed in on parent vloggers, the scrutiny also percolated to mukbangs, a subset of social media content in which users film themselves eating. Mukbang-themed YouTube videos, some of which include children, do not typically conjure uncomfortable looks into household tribulations, but in broadcasting questionable interactions between bites, a Memphis couple has drawn the curtains into their private family life, including details surrounding their young son. Songbird ASMR and Songbird's Eating Show, channels run by Crystal Cackler and her husband Charles Chuck Cackler, were once known for videos deemed wholesome, in no small part thanks to their son's occasional appearances. At the time of writing, each channel boasted 277,000 and 66,200 subscribers, respectively. A Reddit forum created in August 2020 sought to unravel that image. From fault-finding observations to abject cruelty, the R Songbird ASMR subreddit has been a driving force for vitriol against the Cacklers. In hate-watching Songbird content, users have also unearthed clips ripe for relentless probing of their family dynamics. The subreddit's moderators made the forum private and inaccessible in September without explanation, and it was made public again in October. During one now removed video in which she enjoyed waffles with her son, Krista Cackler shared her stressful marital issues with Chuck, who she said was staying at his parents' house. The child drank from his sippy cup and distractedly fiddled with his hands right next to her. "I'm not sure if he's coming back home today," Cackler said. "If he does, he does. If he don't, he don't. That's fine with me." In another statement critics latched onto, Cackler said they don't usually have our son on the weekends and that he hasn't been home very much in the last week or two, fueling online rumors that the couple was shirking their responsibilities to the child. In August, unidentified YouTube users released voice messages from a WhatsApp group chat with a woman purporting to be Crystal Cackler's maternal aunt. The woman demanded the couple put an end to their YouTube career, accusing them of neglecting their child and failing to act upon online threats against him. She also made lurid claims about Krista Cackler's personal history. Krista Cackler has previously mentioned a debate with her in-laws over the child's presence on her channel. My in-laws sort of have like some reservations about him being online and all that, but I'm hoping in the future they'll change their mind, Cackler said during a mac and cheese mukbang. My husband and I are more than willing to have him featured in some videos. The couple did eventually stop including the child in their content, citing safety concerns, yet the boy's absence hadn't deterred his parents from volunteering intimate information about him before, such as divulging that his unplanned conception had caused their premature engagement. The Cacklers have not publicly addressed the recently surfaced allegations of child neglect, nor have they responded to Newsweek's requests for comment. They have since wiped their channels clean of any trace of their son, which has only aggravated the speculation by their online haters. Despite the Reddit-born firestorm, some of it centered on the child, the couple has carried on their prolific video output. All of this private personal information freely disclosed to an unforgiving internet may backfire on the most vulnerable member of the Cackler trio, who has little agency over his digital presence in the eyes of the law. Amy Cooper, Community Resilience Manager at the Family Center, a Tennessee-based nonprofit focused on breaking familial cycles of trauma, predicts such oversharing could inflict long-term damage on a child. As a parent, Cooper finds the potential fallout from such content to be terrifying. As a professional, she said, it's mind-blowing that some adults can be so short-sighted in their decisions. If someone decides they don't like him in fourth grade, and they decide to look him up and they find all these pictures and videos and comments and threats, I feel like it's going to be something that kind of rears its head over his lifetime, Cooper told Newsweek. Because nothing on the internet goes away, employers do look people up. And colleges, they do look people up and see what their background is. And the idea of creating such a deep internet history of your own child, I don't know why you would do it. There is a certain appeal to YouTube family channel sharenting. Parents can relate to fellow grown-ups' adventures in raising a family. Children enjoy videos of other kids doing fun stuff, such as unboxing Christmas presents or swimming in Orbeez-filled pools. In showcasing their own families, however, influencer parents compile indelible digital archives that could follow their children into adulthood. Many kids have seen their online presence cemented before they learned how to speak or read. Some vloggers' children were in the public eye even prior to their birth, eventually welcomed into the world by their parents and millions of internet strangers. A particular point of contention is influencer parents' ease with filming their children during sensitive moments in their lives. What critics see as a lack of boundaries, family channels defend as authentic looks into the unglamorous ebbs and flows of parenting. The 𝐊𝐈𝐍𝐃 channel, starring Sarah and Johnny Tanner, along with their 7 children, has 1.48 million subscribers and engendered some criticism for puberty-themed content. In one video, the couple's tween daughter could be seen fully dressed on the edge of a bathtub as her parents shaved her legs in an effort to teach her how to do it herself. For another vlog, the family took the same young girl shopping for her first bra. The video was titled, "Becoming a Woman. I'm 11 and it finally happened," with a thumbnail featuring the child holding hangers with bras on them. The Tanners have not responded to Newsweek's request for comment, though the shaving video was subsequently made private. One influencer parent's child-rearing tactics elicit scandal, their children can become targets for online hate. 8 Passengers, a channel boasting 2.38 million subscribers, follows Utah-based couple Ruby and Kevin Frank and their 6 children. In one video that stirred backlash, the couple's then 15-year-old son spoke of his bedroom being taken away for 7 months as punishment for pranking his brother, which led to him sleeping on a beanbag. In another occasion, Ruby Frank filmed herself reacting to a message from a teacher asking her to bring food for her 6-year-old daughter after the child forgot to take a packed lunch to school. I responded and just said, "My daughter is responsible for making her lunches in the morning, and she actually told me she did not pack a lunch," Frank said in the video. So the natural outcome is she's just going to need to be hungry. Hopefully, nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her lunch. Following the wave of outrage that followed, in June 2020, Ruby and Kevin Frank told Business Insider their son opted to sleep on the beanbag despite other options around the house. Of their daughter's lunch, they said she only had 2 hours left at school, which was a 45-minute drive from their home. Nonetheless, the Franks had widespread accusations of child abuse, resulted in death threats against the family, and messages encouraging their children to unalive themselves. The couple also said they got a visit from Utah's Division of Child and Family Services, which resulted in no action against them. The Franks did not respond to Newsweek's request for comment. Under U.S. privacy laws, parents are generally considered gatekeepers of their underage children's private information and consent. This is reflected in the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, which protects students' education records, and the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, covering the confidentiality of individuals' health information. FERPA and HIPAA prohibit third parties from sharing a minor's private information unless they are granted permission from the child's parents. This presents a conflict when parents decide to publicize their children's personal details online, according to Stacy Steinberg, law professor at the University of Florida and author of Growing Up Shared. When parents are the ones disclosing personal information about children, they are both the gatekeepers tasked with protecting the information and also the gate openers, the ones who potentially benefit from the disclosure of the child's information, Steinberg told Newsweek via email. The enormous pull, both from the lure of profit and the lure of public attention, she added, has created an underexplored children's rights issue. There is a law that tasks parents with protecting their children's digital privacy. The Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, COPPA, of 1998, prohibits websites aimed at kids from collecting information about children under 13 without their parents' consent. In January 2020, YouTube implemented new COPPA-compliant measures on its platform, which included disabling personalized advertisements and comments on videos that could attract views from children. This came after parent company Google was fined a record $170 million by the Federal Trade Commission and New York's Attorney General, who found the company to have illegally tracked children's viewing histories so as to deploy targeted ads. The changes dismayed family YouTubers, who said they would take a toll on revenue generated by their content and subsequently disincentivize family-friendly creators. YouTube did not respond to Newsweek's request for comment. YouTube's Help Center outlines best practices for content with children, which include securing consent from a minor's parent before putting them in a video. YouTube also urges creators to review local laws and regulations regarding minors' ability to work and financial compensation, as well as ensuring healthy work conditions that do not interfere with their schooling. But the U.S. lacks comprehensive legal protections explicitly geared towards children featured in their parents' monetized social media content. While California's online eraser law, for example, permits minors to request their own content be removed by operators of websites or online services, how it might apply to content posted by their parents remains to be seen. There are laws designed to protect child performers from being financially exploited. Most famously, California's 1939 Coogan Law, which was passed after child actor Jackie Coogan, star of Charlie Chaplin's The Kid, sued his mother and stepfather for blowing through his earnings. It mandates 15% of a child performer's income be deposited in a trust they can access upon reaching adulthood. As currently written, however, the law does not cover kids earning money from social media. YouTube's child safety policy bans certain depictions of minors, including any content in which they are sexualized, involved in dangerous acts, subjected to emotional distress, or cyberbullied. In an effort to create a safer space for children to enjoy age appropriate videos, the YouTube Kids app was launched in 2015. But according to Dr. Sarah Domoff, extreme forms of parental oversharing have left experts concerned. Domoff directs the Family Health Lab at Central Michigan University, a clinic that specializes in helping children and families manage their digital use. When parents publicly share content that makes a child feel embarrassed or uncomfortable, Domoff warned, such repeated shaming experiences can encourage negative self perception and lower self esteem in kids. Normalizing the absence of privacy also models dangerous behavior, putting minors at risk for disclosing things online that could ultimately harm them. For a child who's developing, they may start internalizing what they see, what they hear, their experience of witnessing what was posted online, as well as the comments they follow, or the retweeting or the resharing of this material, Domoff told Newsweek. For children to grow up healthy and happy and secure, they need to have places where they feel like they have their own space, their own private world, their family environment that is unadulterated by consumerism. Even more worrisome, in the past, pedo rings have exploited YouTube's recommendation algorithm to seek out content involving children and roamed comment sections of videos featuring kids, leaving lewd responses and exchanging links to child pornography. We know for children who experience cyber victimization, that's linked to suicidality, that's linked to depressed mood, Domoff told Newsweek. And what's so challenging and so damaging about these situations is that you can never fully get rid of online content. U.S. lawmakers seeking to enact protections for child influencers could look beyond their borders for some direction. In October 2020, France promulgated a law aimed at regulating the commercial exploitation of the image of children under the age of 16 on online platforms. Parents in France must now request permission from an administrative authority to record videos of children under 16 years old for monetary gain. Another provision in the law requires that once a young social media star's income exceeds a certain threshold, any earnings since then are to be placed in a fund that is blocked until they turn 18. France's law also ensures minors are granted the right to erasure by allowing them to request the deletion of their personal data without their parents' permission. Kidfluencers in the US could soon benefit from similar protections. In June 2020, New York State Assembly member Linda Rosenthal introduced a bill that would expand the state's labor law to include children who appear in monetized social media videos. It just seems like a no brainer to say, wait a minute, this kid is like 3 or 4 years old and their lives are being filmed and they have no control over it, Rosenthal told Newsweek. How long are they working? And do they have a normal life at all? Is their whole life being filmed? If signed into law, child influencers in New York could be considered performers. They would need to obtain a permit, meet schooling requirements, and have their work hours and conditions regulated. Parents and guardians would be required to establish a trust account for the minors with a required minimum deposit of 15% of the child's gross earnings. In anticipation of the Assembly's next session beginning in January 2022, Rosenthal said the bill is being refined by way of discussions with experts in child labor law, psychology, and privacy. We generally think that when something passes in New York State, that often is the impetus or inspiration for other states to follow suit, Rosenthal told Newsweek. So I expect the same will happen here, which is also why I want to make sure it's the best bill possible. Until ironclad protections are implemented, children of YouTubers seeking a clean slate or compensation will likely face uphill battles that could unfold in courtrooms. The family influencer industry remains successful but incendiary, awaiting the flicker of a landmark case or groundbreaking legislation to set the whole thing ablaze. Hello, hello. Sorry for the long intro. Um, I'm DC, and we're co-streaming on each other's channels, on Tanya's and Karina's. Tonight we're going to be talking about exploiting kids in multi-level marketing, but wanted to let you kind of know what's going on regarding what's been hitting the fan on YouTube. If you're not aware of that, the multi-level marketing exploitation is not going to make as much sense. But I'm going to go ahead and pass the introduction microphone over to Tanya, and then Karina, and then we'll get started.
Me, little old me. Now I'm Tanya. I'm doing my own YouTube channel again, Tanya Elizabeth with an S. There is another channel with a Z. Thank you, Mom, for making my name super confusing. All you, Karina.
Hi. Okay. That was it. That was a very short intro. Hi, guys. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Karina, and I am a bilingual anti-MLM content creator and also a mom, which is why I'm here today. And yeah, that's it. What's up? How y'all doing?
Cool. I'm so happy that Karina and Tanya are willing to share their spiciness on this topic. They both have kids. I don't. I just have big feelings about exploiting kids on the internet, and I'm excited that they are going to lend their experience, their perspective, having kids on this topic, to give you a little bit of feedback, or not feedback, but background in the Young Living, the multi-level marketing company that I was a part of most recently. I left in April. Kids were used to move the oils and supplements, and it was encouraged and it was looked at as a benefit and a plus if you did have kids, because one, they added a cute factor. It took away some of the stigma of being in a multi-level marketing company, and you saw a little kid or a young child mixing up the oil stuff, and you thought, "Oh, great, they're a cute family. They're doing this together. They look like they have a great relationship. I'm open to learning about the opportunity, and it's helping them with all these health stuff." And it just escalated from there. Karina and Tanya, I don't know if y'all have had experience seeing multi-level marketers exploit kids to personally profit, but I have, and I didn't know what y'all's experience had been on that.
I definitely have. I feel like I've seen multiple MLMers, especially bigger ones. We've seen people be on the toilet having a miscarriage. We've seen people let their children eat the products they sell because apparently they're vegan or whatever. And I've seen them say, "Oh, he's my why. This is why I do what I do, because this is my baby and I want to be with him all the time," and yada yada yada. So yeah, I feel like we've definitely all seen that happen somewhere or another.
I mean, back when I was in Unique, it wasn't frowned upon, but it wasn't exactly encouraged to use children, mainly because we were using cosmetics, even though they were vegan. And I'm going to put air quotes on that. They can't say it anymore because they're not vegan. But they said they were going for their leaping bunny, and they never got that either. It wasn't encouraged, but it wasn't necessarily discouraged. I mean, in the few posts that I did have with Sean in them, it was more so to show off the makeup with my baby, because he was beautiful, because he was just an infant. He was a little itty bitty loaf of bread. But these bigger YouTubers, especially the YouTubers now that are in the MLMs, that are using their children to market their MLM, make it that much more disgusting, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the health and wellness multi-level marketing companies do it more because they can use all of these products to, as they say, not go to the doctor as much, treat something healthier at home. So like Young Living, doTERRA. I don't know about Modere because it seems like their products are more targeted towards adults, but Q Sciences talking about giving your kids melatonin so that they will go to sleep consistently. Um, a lot of those types
I mean,
of.
we just saw Elomir, remember?
Oh yeah,
Yep.
they're freaking wild in these streets, giving their little kids a third of
Have
a
a strip.
yeah, have a strip. And they're saying it's improving all these things, and it's like, well, for one, the box says don't give it to anyone under the age of 18. And then you're using it to one personally profit. Yes.
Elamir's out here in these streets just wilding out, and nobody's calling, and we're calling them out, calling them out, calling them out. It all comes down to, if you see the post, you've got to report the post. It doesn't matter where it's at. You've got to report it to the FTC, FDA, State Attorney General's Office of Texas, because they are operating out of the Melissa, Texas.
Yep.
But especially these, you're right, with the health and wellness, those are the big ones that tend to target families and single moms.
Yeah, and again, so let's imagine this, you're a kid, you're in the home, your parent says, "Hey, mix up this oil," or I'm going to film you taking this, here, I'm going to record you or whatever. As a kid in your parents' home, how are you going to be able to, one, offer informed consent, and two, are you going to feel safe enough to tell your mom or dad, "No, I don't want to do that"? Some kids might. But most kids, I would say, want to feel safe in their home, and there's all that balance of like, sure, no big deal. Or you think that your parent has the best interest for you in mind, so you're going to say yes. And then you're all over the internet for all of time.
Yeah, and then if you don't know any better, I mean, like you said, you trust your parents to make a good choice for you. Like, they're your parents. So,
yeah.
But we have seen it. Wasn't there like I think this was a series, The Unwell or whatever, where the doctor is giving his children their specialty, and it's like essential oils.
Yep.
Well, you've got Dre McCray with that guy. I don't know if you guys follow. She does paparazzi.
I haven't been following. I mean, I've seen things here and there. Like, I definitely watch Chelsea's video and stuff, but I'm not. I don't think I'm like super informed, so I don't. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
She's feeding her kids kratom.
Yeah, and again, the kid told on their mom in the
right,
video.
That's what I'm getting
watching. And so the kid's saying, "No, you give me that tea every night." And then the mom, the Dre opens her eyes a little bit so you can see, like, holy crap, he's telling on me, or they're telling on me. And then she's like, "No, I don't. You're misinformed. You don't know." And I'm thinking,
yeah,
again, just watching from the video, we don't know the whole story, but it does look like a dangerous substance. And is it appropriate for a kid? I don't know. I don't think so.
Speaking of appropriate, Jessica Demure said, "I've seen my ex upline use her son to sell Pure Romance, Pure 21 Day Fix."
What?
Excuse me?
God. Oh,
heck no.
God.
That's just nasty.
Disgusting.
Yeah, you're using your child, who, again, you're supposed to be the protector for, to personally profit off of them.
You're sexualizing them. Like, that is so, like, as a parent, how can you do that? Like, there's nothing that I want to do more than to protect my child. So
yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but when I saw Chelsea's video on that one little girl from TikTok, I was crying. Like, I was actually crying. I was furious. I was disgusted. I just wanted to grab that baby and protect her at all costs. Yeah. And it's just...
And when
I hate to tell you this,
comments, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead.
No, just you see some of these comments on these little kids' videos, and I don't know. I know the Dad Challenge podcast is a little controversial. He goes hard for these parents who are exploiting their kids, but we should
go hard after those parents.
he went through and he looked at the parts of the videos on YouTube that are getting repeated the most by different viewers. And he's paid for these expensive analytics to see what age range and what genders are watching these little kids eat hot dogs, do all this stuff that the parents know about. The parents have access to all this information and they're choosing to continue to do it more and more and more and more. And again,
I just
protector, what are you doing?
I feel like in this, I mean, anytime, but like in this day and age, we really have to make sure to take care of our kids and not expose them like that. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and lie. Like at one point in time, I did think about having a family channel, not so much to make money off of my son. I just wanted to document me being pregnant, me having him as a kid, and then like having those memories up on the internet. There's a family channel that I'm a huge fan of, have been for years. It's Judy Time. I don't know if you guys know them, but it's a super cute Asian American family, and they have like beautiful little girls, but they do it very tastefully, in my opinion. Haven't seen their stuff in a minute, but they don't really like expose their kids like that. Like they're very tactful with the way they share their children, and I really appreciate that. But I to me, it infuriates me to see children be exploited that way and sexualized and stuff, because I've mentioned this a few times, but I was actually, trigger warning, essayed as a young child, even though my parents never like sexualized me or like obviously intended for that to happen to me. So I'm just thinking, like, what is going through these parents' minds when they put out here pictures of their kid like eating a lollipop or like eating a hot dog or whatever? Like, do you know the amount of sick people that are out there? Like, people just waiting for you to blink and bat an eye and hurt your baby. Like, if even people close to your family, that was my case, hurt your children. It was a family member. Can you imagine these creeps that get so obsessed with this cute little child that you continually are putting out online and doing like explicit things? It's just like, there's no money in the world. Yeah, Dave, there's no money in the world to me that would be worth my child's safety, my child's well-being, my child staying safe. That is one of the reasons why, like, it just goes all together. That is one of the reasons why I was so scared of having Leo not be vocal when he started going to school, which is why he's going to be going to speech therapy. Because in my mind, the first thing that comes to my mind is, what if someone hurts my baby? He can't even tell me. Like, I will go to jail if someone hurts my baby. Like, there's just, I cannot, it makes my ass itch to watch these parents put their kids out there like that. Like, there's just no needed to exploit a kid. Like, you should just let a child be a child. Like, I understand sharing a cute picture in there here and there. I do that with Leo all the time. There's a lot of pictures of Leo on my profile, and I am guilty of sharing a picture of him in the bathtub, but I always use the emoji to cover most of his little body up. You can see that he's like in the tub, but I would never like just put him sitting cross-legged or like eating something weird or whatever. Like, I could never. I will protect my child, my children, any kids that I know at all costs. Like, I can't. I'm gonna pass it on to someone because I just
Yeah, and again, it's like there's I think the parents have the information to know what's effective on when they're making money on YouTube, or if they're making money in multi-level marketing and they're specifically using their kids to make the opportunity more appealing, make the product more appealing, or say you're going to have a better your kid's going to be able to sleep better with this product. And then you show your kids saying, "Wow, when my mom got me this product, my life was so much better." Okay. Well, is that kid able to say no? Is that kid able to say, "Hey, I don't want to be on this. I don't want to be on your video"? Or is the lure from your parent asking it? Do they even feel like they could say no? I don't think so. That's just, and Tanya, I feel like you have a lot to a lot to say on this.
Girl, if you only knew. No, if anybody were to hurt my child in any way, shape, or form, I'd smile in my mugshot. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah.
I'd smile in my mugshot. But that's the reason why I go so hard for child advocacy in regards to sexual abuse, sexual exploitation, human trafficking, anything like that. Only because they don't have the power unless the parents give them the power to speak freely, to sit there and say, no, mom, or no, dad, I don't want to do that because XYZ. And give a valid reason and have a rational discussion. And it's because they can't have that rational discussion at 2 or 3 years old. You are having to make life or death decisions, mundane decisions for your children that they don't agree with.
Yeah.
But if you give them an active choice in their life, that gives them the power to sit there and say, Mom, I don't want to wear that today. Can I wear this instead? Or, Mom, I don't want to eat this dinner. Can we have this for dinner instead? It's giving them an active choice and being an active participant in their life instead of them sitting in the passenger seat with no control. And that's where control issues come in. And that's where these predators will come in and take advantage of your children. They're going to give your child a choice.
Yeah, and again, I just don't. I'm not a parent. I can imagine though if you are a minor and you're in your home, there's different experiences with your parents growing up. There's a range of authoritative to authoritarian, and is that kid gonna feel comfortable to say no? You know, some people talk about informed consent. Even if you say, do you want to be on this video or not, they don't understand the consequences of being on the internet forever. And also, would they even feel comfortable saying no? You know, there's so many facets to that.
I feel like we've seen children though say, no, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to, and the parents still are like, well, I'm the parent here, so I'm going to make a choice.
Yeah. Or we make money from this. If you don't do this, we're not going to be able to make money. And if those conversations are happening on YouTube, they're probably happening in multi-level marketing stuff behind the scenes too.
Yeah, and what I wanted to mention as well too is, DC, you don't need to be a parent to feel some sort of way about this. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I have a nephew. He's 5 years old. I consider him my first baby. He was like the first love of my life. I will always say that. That's my little man right there. He's my everything. He's pretty much my first child. And I would defend that kid with my life. And when I briefly talked about this with Kayla, who I miss very much, but I briefly talked about this with Kayla on a live that we did. And I remember that when he was a newborn, my sister-in-law is very much younger than me, like 6 or 7 years. So she had a hard time setting boundaries with people like, can you not do this with my kid? Can you not do this? And because I loved him so much and I wanted to protect him at all costs, I was the one setting boundaries. So you do not have to be a mom or a parent to feel some sort of way about this. And I'm so livid right now. Like, I'm shaking, guys. Like, I'm shaking.
Yeah.
Me too.
I'm glad that y'all were willing to come on and talk about this, because people who are passionate about advocating for their kid, I think is really important. I think it's hopefully starting a conversation if other parents haven't thought about the consequences or the weight that they are putting on their child with regarding decisions about being recorded, or in specifically multi-level marketing, using them to move a product. It makes me feel a big kind of weight because I don't know, it's just putting a weight on them they shouldn't have to carry. It is exploiting them, it's taking advantage of them for personal profit. I understand the need to bring in an income, but should you do that at the expense of your kid? I don't think so. I don't think so. Tanya?
I'm going to use regular 9 to 5 work versus MLM work. You wouldn't bring your child to your 9 to 5 every day to make your money. Why would you bring your child every day or every post or every other post from your MLM to make your money? You just don't do it. There's a reason why there's the Coogan law. There's a reason why that there's child labor laws in general. Because social media is the wild, wild west, we're about 10 years behind legally than what we are right now for laws.
Yeah.
So we're about 10 years away from having a Coogan law for kids for social media. What happens to all those children that had their parents exploit them, use them for profit, and then spend all the money, like the Ace family?
Yep.
I mean, even with that, the Coogan law and stuff, we've seen multiple actors and actresses, child actresses. What's her name? That McCurdy girl just spoke out not too long ago. I don't know her first name. I forgot, but Michelle, I think maybe. Well, she said that she never saw any of her money. Like by the time she was able to manage her own money, even though they have that law in place where they have to save like that 15 or 10%, whatever it is. Have fun, Jessica. Have good food. But what's it called? She never saw any of her money. Like by the time she was able to handle her own money, there was nothing to handle. And her mother exploited her the entire time because she was the one keeping all the money. I just recently saw that. I did a video about a Spanish actress who was in Mary Kay and who, spoiler alert, she just switched over to the pharmacy with her whole team. Blanca will be talking about that. She's been talking about that. But she talked about how she was a child actress and she, what's it called? She never saw any of her money. Like she never really made any money. All she did was provide for her family. And when it comes to children, I there's a very fine line of wanting to share like certain things and wanting to have your child be prominent in your social media or whatnot. But if you want to share everything, I suggest you have a private profile because you just never know the type of creeps that are out there. If you're sharing your kid specifically to get paid, you fucking up, my guy, because you are the provider, not your kid. Not only are you messing up their whole like their trust, their beliefs, just their childhood in general, but you're using them as a ATM. Like, no, I just no.
Yeah,
That's the reason why. Oh, go ahead. I think we're both waiting for each person to say something.
Yeah, we're trying to be too polite. No, go for it. Go for it, Tanya.
That's the reason why I won't allow Sean anywhere near my channel. I think if you go back 2 years was the last picture I have of him on my Instagram. I've gotten nasty comments about him because he had a speech delay. He's level 2 autistic, which used to be known as Asperger's. It's high functioning, but still autistic. All kinds of nasty things said about him in regards to me as a parent, him as a child. So he will be nowhere near, right? Nowhere near any type of social media until he's at least 13 years old, where he can kind of start to understand informed consent, where he can start to wrap his head around the fact that the internet is forever and the internet isn't always nice. Yes, mommy has friends on the internet. Yes, mommy does work on the internet. But mommy's also 41 years old and been around the block. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So for these people to be wilding out on these streets, just schlepping their kid from here, there, and everywhere, why don't you just put them out on the street corner? Why don't you just put them out on the corner? That's how you're exploiting your children. Is you're putting them out on a corner where any Tom, Dick, or Harry can take a look at them, size them up, and figure out how they work to get them to do what they want them to do versus what they're supposed to do. And that's what a lot of people don't seem to wrap their head around with, oh, it's just a product, or, oh, it's just an oil to help them sleep, or it's just an oil to help their anxiety, or it's a supplement to help them concentrate better at school. Well, go see a doctor.
How about you sit
Get
down and
that
do
shit
homework with them? Maybe
prescribed.
that'll help them concentrate.
Yeah, exactly. Get them diagnosed if they have ADD or ADHD. And if you
Yep.
don't believe in medication, good on you, bro. But don't be just handing out supplements like they're candy. Because you don't know how they're going to interact with that child's brain. Person's brain doesn't fully develop until they're 25 years old. So what are you doing to their developing brain?
Yeah.
Off of what you're saying. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, DC.
Nope. Go for it, Karina.
Off of what she's saying, what Tanya just said, I've definitely thought about like deleting Leo completely from my social media, but the public Instagram that I have now was my private Instagram. It's the only Instagram account that I have. So I have definitely thought about, removing Leo, especially after getting doxxed. Like that was definitely a very scary moment for me, because not only did I feel like people were coming after me, but after my child, I mean. And like I would protect, like Tanya said, I've been around the block, and yeah, I'm a sensitive ass bitch, and I might cry and I might like let my feelings out here on these streets so y'all can see me. But do not get it twisted. I will mess you up if you come after my child. Like I've yet to have anything like what happened to Tanya happen to me, but you don't wanna push me there. You just don't do it. So as far as privacy, again, I know that there's a very thin line of between what can I and cannot share. I just feel as long as you're not profiting off your child and not like sexualizing them or whatnot, you should be fine. And just it's just a very touchy subject, and when it comes to making money off of them, regardless of whether it's content creating or MLMs, just don't do it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. It's gonna mess your relationship over with your child. And who the hell is gonna take care of you when you're old?
Yeah. And again, you might, if you end up finding this video and you think we're going too hard for these YouTubers or these these multi-level marketers, look at the back end analytics of the videos. Look at what is being repeated and rewatched, and look at who the age range and what parts of the stuff it is. You cannot unsee it. And it also exists even if you are not comfortable looking at and understanding who's actually looking and exploiting these kids. Now, because there are some inherently innocent things that shouldn't be twisted. I get that, but they are. There's really sick people on the internet, and specifically on YouTube, and again, you can't unsee it. And again, just look at you can buy the analytics yourself or go watch Dad Challenge podcast or any of these other people who are trying to advocate for children because their parents will not advocate for them. The law is not advocating for them. And in multi-level marketing, no one's advocating for them either. The parents are just profiting off their kids.
Prime example is Fathering Autism. Dad Challenge podcast did, I think, a 3-part series on them. Priscilla, I used to follow this family channel religiously, like every upload. I was obsessed. And it was because I identified with having an autistic child. So that's how they reel these people in. And what the back end analytics have told everybody is that the video tanks if Abigail's not in it. And she doesn't sell shit unless Abigail's in the ad. Saying, look at the lipstick that my mom put on me. This child will never understand that type of interaction ever. They're just trying to get her verbal, let alone to understand, oh, I'm selling something.
Yeah.
It's abhorrent how, if you want to go even one step further, taking kids that are special needs and using them to show your shitty products.
Yeah.
That's where I go off, son. That's where I go off.
It's like Micah with the baby she gave up. Do y'all know how frustrated I was watching this from outside? I was like, that poor baby. That poor baby.
Yep.
I cried.
already
I legit
traumatic.
cried.
Me too.
It's already traumatic. There's already trauma associated with being adopted, with losing, and I say losing, with being with your biological family or in a situation, and even if it was the least traumatic type of situation, there's stuff that is best worked through with a therapist, a licensed professional, because as a kid, being adopted, like there's just, and I'm not articulating it correctly, but you have that where they adopted this little boy and then they exploited him and then they said this is too difficult. He needs to go to a new family. Are you kidding me? I wish I
Made it
wasn't
someone
kidding.
else's problem.
It, and I hope that he is in a much better family than them and he's not getting exploited anymore. But it is extreme. He has gone through already so much trauma because of this family. Thought it was aesthetically pleasing for their family channel to adopt someone. It's
They
wrong.
literally treated him like a pet. Like, oh, now we can't put up with you. We can't handle your activity levels, this and that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and give you a like.
Well, that was not before Mike had taped his thumbs because he was a thumb sucker.
Yep, with duct tape. With
Mhm.
effing duct tape.
Yep. I wouldn't treat a pet that way, let alone an animal.
Yeah, but you know what? What goes around comes around. Because where is she now? I bet you that baby is in way better hands. And where the fuck is she? Like, where is she?
Preach, sister.
Yeah.
Preach.
Dave said we were adopted. You already feel like no one wants you, and you feel like you're the one that's broken. And if y'all haven't seen the video, Steve Hassan did a video with an adoption expert who specifically works with families who and her perspective is child-centered adoption, not so finding the family that's the best for the child, not saying, hey, we want to adopt a kid. It's a really, like, it's a different mindset. So it's a really good video if you are adopted, or if you're looking for more insight. It's a really good video.
I love him. God, he's doing God's work.
Yep,
he really is.
Yep.
And I'm not even that religious, y'all. But he's doing God's work with what he's doing, because let me tell you, I could not do the amount of cult work that he's done and not cry. I mean, we don't know if he's cried or not, but I'm just saying in general, I'd bawl my eyes out just talking about the deprogramming process.
Yeah,
cults are insidious. They are insidious.
You know what I wonder though? For example, for like that little girl that Chelsea did a video about, or like Micah's adopted son or whatever. Like, where were the other adults in the household? Like, did you not see something wrong going on? And why didn't you not advocate for this child, regardless of whether he's your biological child or not? Why are you not advocating? Like that one little girl, where are her grandparents? Where's the dad? Like, who is taking care of this baby? Or is everybody just benefiting and not giving a damn about the baby? Because that's what it looks like from the outside in.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what it was. They didn't care. They were bringing him. He was bringing, I'm not going to use his name, was bringing in money to fund Stopper Garage. Because let's face it, Daddy Stopper sucks dick, and his channel sucks. And
you know what
sucks? Micah.
You know what sucks? I was actually a fan of him. Like, his videos used to relax me, and then whenever all this stuff went down, I was like, no.
Yeah.
And his channel sucks now, so that's a good thing.
But
he still has sponsors. But he still gets sponsors. So, you know, it's a potato thing. Yes, Micah got her just desserts, but she wasn't the only one who adopted.
Yeah, I think when money's involved, people act completely differently, or they their priorities get out of balance. And my question is, and I don't want to use his name because he's already been exploited enough, but where's all his money he brought in for that family channel? You know what I mean? People were watching for that adoption story. So in my mind, all of that money should have been put in a trust for him. So when he gets
I
to be
agree.
18, he would have had that. And that, I mean, it really felt like they used him, stole money from him, left him in a worse spot than he originally came to them in, and then are like, well, we don't have to bear the burden anymore, which is completely wrong, and they have all the money, which is it is just so wrong on so many levels. And on a smaller scale, multi-level marketing people who are doing this, like Emily Fowler, who's in Beachbody, Brooke Kristen, who's in Young Living, a lot of the bigger leaders in multi-level marketing,
Mandy Sue,
Andy
Yep.
Sue,
Salvage Soul sister,
yeah, there's a
Erica
whole myriad.
Shepherd.
Yep, there's a whole list, and yes, so my perspective is I'm not a fan of exploiting your kids. This is my opinion. And we see, this is just based off of what I've seen on social media, what's been presented on their channels. It does look like they're exploiting their kids to shill their product to make more money. And who's getting the short end of the stick in that situation? Their kids.
Right.
And they should be protecting their kids, and they're not.
Silver platter, children, right here. Boop. To God knows what, God knows who, on a daily basis. I mean, you just listed what, 5 off of the top of your head?
Yeah.
The one that I think is one of the most egregious is Mandy Sue, because she's not only, an exploiter, she's a racist. So what is she actually teaching her children?
Yeah, and again, I don't necessarily know her older son seems like a really good kid. We see a limited I put a lot of responsibility on Mandy Sue. I put a lot of responsibility on these parents for their negative impacts they're having.
Absolutely.
And I hope, I hope that there's some parts that are being twisted that are blowing stuff out of proportion, that it's not as bad, but it does seem like there's stuff that is bad.
I think her behavior has a lot to do with the fact that now she has money and she is like a public figure. I feel like that ruined her. And my thing is, it's not only just ruining her now, it's going to ruin her children as well. And it's
yeah, the influence that parents have and their ability to impact their kids, the strength of their influence is undeniable. And again, there's lots of kids who rise above it and are able to overcome really bad parenting situations. But, should they have to? No. In a perfect world, they shouldn't have to.
And you know what? I want to speak from the point of view, sorry, Tanya, of the children. So for example, for me, I spoke about it very openly because I want to learn. I want to learn and I want other people. I want to learn and I want people to learn from certain things. So like as a child, I remember a lot of things. And then now as a grown up, a lot of things happen sometimes with my parents where I'm like, how? I'm your child. Like, I am your kid. Like, I came out of you. Like, you made me. How could you do this to me? Like, so I feel like if I feel like that and it was never like public out in the open or anything else like that, I can only, I don't want to imagine how these children are going to feel when they're grown up and they're like, damn, like this is really out here for everyone to see. Like there's stuff that's gone down between me and my parents. And I still wonder like, how? Now, if I imagine it being public, I probably wouldn't have a relationship with them at all. Because it's like, as a parent, as a protector, as a provider, as a guardian, as whatever, as a head of a household, how could you do this to your child? Like, how could you do this to your children? And again, I don't want to imagine what those kids are going to go through whenever they have their own children. They're like, damn, how could my parents ever do that to me? It's insane to me.
Let me pose this question. If we say that MLM marketing is predatory, right? The business model itself is predatory. Therefore, the top 1% would inherently be predatory. The prey became the predator, right? So with that being said, let's again use Mandy Sue as an example. What is she teaching her children on top of what isn't going on behind the camera? What's going on in front of it? She's teaching them to lie. She's teaching them to steal. She's teaching them to cheat. It doesn't matter what they, at the end of the day, where, she's saying don't do that, but they see mom doing it on a daily.
She's teaching them that they can get away with anything because of their privilege. Because you can't sit here and lie and tell me that Mandy Sue hasn't gotten away with all the shit she's gotten away with because she's white. Girl, you can't sit here and tell me that.
I would never try to presume to tell you that.
I know, but I'm saying, like, she's teaching them from an early age. You are white, you are from here. You can do whatever you want.
Yep.
She very much gives me America vibes, Yeah, and it's insane because instead of fixing the future and instead of giving your children better, sorry, DC, you're teaching them to feel even more entitled,
Yeah, I think again, with these ideas that are kind of those subconscious things that are accepted in families that maybe you don't actively think about, are they going to be faced with bigger speed bumps as they grow up? I think so. My hope is that parents help their kids learn how to be a full individual, like in control of their own minds, not tied to broken ideas and racist ideologies and things that they're not aware of. We're not in their home. I don't know, but we see a lot of stuff that's posted on social media that they post themselves. We're not like sneaking in and secretly recording anybody. They think, wow, this is great to share with the world. And then Monet doesn't really do anything about it, but neither does Beachbody, neither does Young Living, neither does doTERRA. It doesn't seem like any of these multi-level marketing companies, and I could be wrong, I don't know every single multi-level marketing company, but when we email them and say, example with Prove It, when Jessie Lee Ward was disparaging Ukraine and her ex-boyfriend and saying that Putin was on her side, we all, or a lot of people, emailed compliance, and Prove It didn't do a thing. And it doesn't necessarily negatively impact Jessie Lee Ward's reputation because she's kind of behaved her way into the situation. But her association with those ideas takes away from Prove It. Even though it's a multi-level marketing company, we're already not fans. It takes away from any credibility they have left because they're saying we're doubling down on her because she makes a lot of money, even though publicly we probably wouldn't have supported her ideas in this situation. And I don't know. It's just...
And we don't want to mom shame.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
There's usually a disclaimer in the policy and procedures that what they'll say is anything that's said by a market partner, distributor, whatever, is not reflective of how we feel as a company.
Yep.
So that's how they get away with saying, with Mandy Sue, with Jessie Lee Ward, with Kim, with Jill, with whoever from doTERRA, saying that, here's my kid on a silver platter, they're eating peppermint oil, but it's all good because it's all natural.
Yeah.
Just so isn't cyanide.
Yep. And you're perpetuating these health ideas that you're saying, hey, this is safe. And then, if you have 10, 20, 30,000 followers and they're learning from you, what kind of ideas, what kind of misinformation are you sharing that someone else is going to take at face value because they say, oh, this person's trustworthy, they're using an all-natural product, it's really safe. They wouldn't give their kids something that's dangerous, so I'm sure it's fine. No, you are prescribing supplements to try to cure, to heal, to fix a health problem, and that's not what supplements have been tested to do. That's literally why prescriptions are prescriptions, because they've gone through the testing to do that. And if you are prescribing supplements and you are doing that without a medical license, you're going to get in trouble.
You have no business. You have no
You have
business
no
giving that
business.
type of advice. Yeah. I also wanted to make a point and say that we're not trying to parent shame anyone or mom shame
Oh,
anyone
yeah.
here. It's just, this is fucked up behavior that should be called out. You know, like, we got to protect these babies at all costs. Granted, we can't like go into their houses and like actually protect them, but I feel like it's just like any other type of toxic or messed up behavior. We should call it out. We should hold people accountable. If I'm messing up over here, filming my son having like a full ass meltdown, like, let me give you one quick example, right? A couple of days ago, I posted a question or a poll on my Instagram stories, and I was like, do you guys want me to take you plant shopping? 100% people said yes. The next day I went plant shopping, but guess what? My kid was having a whole ass meltdown, and I just didn't think it appropriate to film my kid having a meltdown while I plant shopped and share with you guys. Why? Because I never want to put him out there doing something like that. I never want to I don't want to expose him that way.
Yeah.
So don't sit here and tell me like, oh, you're just mom shaming you. No. As a mom, as a parent, period, I would never expose my child that way. I would never let him ingest like things that are not approved by his doctor, because I 100%, in my opinion, can guarantee that these moms have not checked with their pediatricians if their children can have essential oils or safely eat shampoo or hair care products or whatever it is. You know who I'm really going right off of that? You know who I'm really scared for? What's her face's baby? She's pregnant. The Monet witch.
Oh gosh.
I don't want her
what's her name?
to exploit her kid, but I already see it. I can see it coming.
Yeah.
Oh, and yeah.
Angela Sumner.
Yeah. Who's going to advocate for the kid? You know, if people are saying, oh, you're just hating on women, you're hating on parents, you're, you know, whatever you're saying. Well, the parent, like Karina's doing, like Tanya's doing, should advocate for your kid. You should give your kid the opportunity, when they understand informed consent, to be able to say, okay, I'm okay with having this video of when I was 3 on the internet. I'm okay with having this video of 6 because I'm 18 or I'm 25 or whatever, and I fully understand the ramifications of that, and I can make the decision to do that, instead of saying, oh, look, this is so funny, my kid is emotionally overstimulated, can't process through their feelings, is having a hard time, and I'm going to exploit him or her on the internet to make myself feel better. That's a no. That's a no for me. And again, we wouldn't have to speak out on this if parents were advocating for their kids. In multi-level marketing or on YouTube, they're exploiting their kids for money. And that is the specific slice, the point of contention that I have. And I don't want to say like, okay, I have this little sliver of an issue and I'm going to make the jump and saying they're a bad parent. I'm saying specifically, stop exploiting your kids for money. That is what I'm going hard about, because no one is standing up for the kids. The law isn't.
No child should go through that.
Yeah, no child should go through that. And the laws isn't standing up for them. Social services can't stand up for them. What are they going to say? Well, they have food, they have a roof over their head, they're not getting hit, they're not getting screamed at a lot of times or whatever. And maybe Tanya can speak to this, but a lot of these YouTubers or MLMers are living within the law. They're not getting in trouble, and yet the kid is suffering. So,
well, I wouldn't
stop,
say
Jessica. Look at Jessica's last comment. Yeah. Sorry, Tanya. Just look at this.
Oh, no, it's okay. I can't see it.
There it goes.
Oh, shut up.
She did it in her post a few days ago. It was wild.
I can't.
Okay, I'm just going to say this.
Go for it.
Karina and I come from a a similar school of parenting in regards to how we were parented. Even though there's a good 10 years between us, our parents were very similar. And I'm going to say this. I will call someone a bad mother if they're allowing their child on the internet to make them money. You're being a shitty parent. Are you a shitty parent? No, but you are acting like a shitty parent. You're putting your needs and your wants ahead of your child. And all I've ever known my parents to do is sacrifice. My mom went without pants, I think, that fit her properly for like 10 years when I was a kid. Because we were living paycheck to paycheck. And my brother would blow through pants and shoes like nobody's business. I would break my glasses. Shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So when I sit there and I see these parents, and I'm not even saying a shitty mom or a shitty dad, just acting like a shitty human being by putting your personal gain for a paycheck above the well-being and the interests of your child or children ahead of everything else. I will call out every freaking family that I can possibly see that are using their children in ads. I used to watch the East family. Sean, the gymnast, and her husband Andrew East. I can't remember Sean. Oh my God, Mom, what was the gymnast's last name? But Sean. Oh my God, I'm having a brain cramp. Anyway,
hi, Mrs. Tanya's mom.
Is it Sean Johnson?
Sean Johnson, that's it. Thank you. And rest in peace to people wearing earphones. I forgot that this was not a private conversation for a second.
Just PS, she yells at me all the time on the phone. She yells at me all the time.
I do. I'm Italian. I can't help it. But I used to watch them religiously, and then they had kids. And those kids were the kids were the ad. It wasn't that they were just in the ad. The kids were the ad.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, yet another channel that I can't watch anymore. Unsubscribe. Unfollow.
I think based off what you're saying, I wouldn't necessarily call anyone like doing that a bad parent or like a bad mom or whatever. But there's a if to it. So if it's like a one-time mistake, maybe lack of a judgment call there, like, maybe you didn't think it through too quick, that's fine. Like, we're all allowed to make mistakes, especially with our children. But if it's like a reoccurring thing, that's a no for me, bro. So think of it this way, right? I feel like people just need to see it another way. And I always give my McDonald's example for MLM. So for this one, I'm gonna put it this way. What if I posted a picture of Leo in his undies and said, all right, y'all, so here's Leo having a breakdown in his undies, and then here's my Cash App. Would you condone that shit? Will you support that shit? I think not.
Yeah. I don't think we
Same
would.
thing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
It's the same thing.
It's exactly the same thing, just in simpler terms. It's exactly the same. So why are you still supporting these people that sell a certain product or that make a certain type of content that are exploiting their kids? Because I'm pretty sure you wouldn't, like, after me posting that picture of my kid, would be like, oh yeah, here's $20, here's whatever. No, like, what kind of person would you be if you supported and co-signed that type of behavior? A creep? Maybe.
Yeah.
But other than that, no, nobody would support that.
Yeah, and I think when most people, maybe not most people when they know better and they do better, that's one thing. When they make changes based off of information, when there was unawareness, then there's education, and then they pivot. Hopefully there's lots of room for us to have grace for people to grow and change. And I'm hoping if people see this on Karina's channel or Tanya's channel or my channel, that if you haven't thought about the implications of using your kid to move your multi-level marketing product or any product, and you haven't thought about the impact of that and you have not been advocating for your kid, that you start. And there's no shame in saying, I didn't know better before, now I do, and I'm going to change. And when I see things that are wrong, I'm going to speak up about it. I'm going to do my best. We're really maybe hyper focusing on the parents who are doing this over and over and over again for money. And when they're aware about it. When they're aware
Yeah,
of it.
absolutely. Because you're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to grow. You're allowed to change.
Yeah.
But if you refuse to because you're making bank out of it, like, baby girl, go sell them feet pics instead. Don't be exploiting your kid. Go sell some booty pics, some feet pics. Don't exploit your kid. Like,
Yeah.
you're supposed to be the breadwinner. You're supposed to be the provider. Don't be exploiting them babies. Let them babies be babies. Like, give them some goldfish and let them be. Don't be putting them on here to make bank off of them. Don't do it.
And don't project what you would be okay with on your kid because they're your kid. And this is what I mean. Hey, I would be okay with that. I'm filming, I'm on YouTube, I joined this multi-level marketing product and they're probably really like me and I know better, so I'm sure this is okay. No, they're different. Let them say no. Or even don't ask them questions that they don't have the informed consent to be able to answer. You know? Like, don't say, "Are you okay with me filming you?" No, you shouldn't be asking about stuff like that and then putting it on the internet to make money.
Definitely be considerate. I mean, I even feel weird about having, like, my father-in-law was in the background the other day, and I felt a little weird about that. And right now I told my husband, make sure you let him know, please, that I'm gonna be doing it live and I don't want him to be in the background. He's like, why? And I'm like, first of all, I'm gonna need you to lower that tone like 2 notches. Second, I don't want him to be exposed that way. Like, I just don't, there's no need for him to be exposed that way. That's also why first of all, my husband's very camera shy. But when I do post them on my stories, I specifically ask, look at this. Can I post that?
Yep.
Every single time. Why? Because you should be considerate of other people around you. People like with Leo, yeah, sometimes I have him in my stories, but it's never anything weird. It's just some cute shit, him kissing on me, loving on me, whatever. But
Yeah.
you will never catch me putting my kid in some sort of weird situation for the creeps to get their jollies. Like, heck no. No,
Yeah.
you need to be considerate and remind yourself that as the social media, you get the following or whatnot, and all of a sudden you feel like everything revolves around you and everything's about you and you don't care about nobody else. No, baby girl, put your feet back on the ground and remember that there's other people that you have to consider, including children.
Yeah. And it's never a blanket approval, like you were saying. It's always, hey, I'm gonna ask again. Informed consent isn't something that stays stays on after you said it. It's something that has to be addressed every single time. And especially, I don't think minors can have the understanding to be able to give it in terms of stuff on social media. And that's my perspective. Other people might have a more liberal or a more loose understanding of that. I don't know. I really benefited from not being on the internet growing up and not being shamed for all of my, struggles with my parents, and that my parents didn't shame me to make themselves feel better in front of their friends on a public platform. And
I mean, can you imagine having all the dumb shit we did or like all the dumb shit we said when we were kids on the internet for everyone to see?
Yep.
I can't. I couldn't.
I would die.
Same here. Same here, girl. Nobody wants to know all this shit out. I did when I was a kid. Nobody.
Because I would never be on social media again. If y'all knew me 20 years ago, y'all would not believe that I am the human I am now.
Same here. You knew me 5, 10 years ago. You're like, who the hell is that girl? Like, really? Like, I don't think that I want anyone to know. And it's not because I'm keeping you. I'm an open book, and I feel like I've let you guys know that before. Like, literally, you ask me a question and I answer you the question. Like, I have nothing to hide. Nothing to hide. I try to always keep it honest, and I try to always be very genuine with you guys, and I know you know that. With that said, there's still shit that I wouldn't want you to see. There's just stuff that I would never want anyone to see. So not because It's just I changed my mind. I no longer condone that behavior. I know I grew. I learned. So why would people need to see that part of me? And it's the same with children. We're not giving them the chance to say no, I don't want to do that. In my particular like experience and what I do is sometimes I want to take a selfie with Leo. Leo's like, no, thank you. Or I'm okay. That's his new thing. I'm okay when he doesn't want to do nothing, when he doesn't want to do something. And you know what? Bet you don't gotta take that selfie. You don't want to cuddle up on mommy whenever you don't want to. You don't have to. You gotta listen. Like they're kids, but they're not stupid, and they should have a say in what they are and are not involved in. And I know a lot of parents are like, hell no, I'm the parent. Blah blah blah. Listen, this is 2022. Give your kids a little credit. These kids are smart and they should be involved in the decisions that are going to affect them for the rest of their life. So if your baby says, no, I'm okay, back the fuck up, put the phone down, put the camera down. Don't expose them that way.
Yeah.
Simple
And
as that.
it's even a more important lesson in my mind if you are saying your words matter. When you say no, it's respected in this home. This is how authority figures should listen to you. And so when they get in a situation when they're not under that protective advocacy from a parent or a family that loves them, they know this behavior is wrong. I don't
Mhm.
feel comfortable, and I've been empowered to say no here, so and I can do it in other situations. Ideally, I think that's what that looks like too. So when you are saying, "Oh, you don't want to take a picture?" We're not going to take a picture. You know, in those small ways, and you let them grow and learn how to be their own person. So,
And
It's
if
all
you're
about
doubting yourself,
empowerment.
yeah, if you're doubting yourself, ask your partner, ask your mom, ask someone around. But if you're doubting yourself, there's a reason why you're doubting yourself. So just don't do it. Simple as that. But if you really do want someone else's opinion, then ask somebody else's opinion, even though that's your child. Like, would you, if this was you, and that's usually how I go about things, not just parenting stuff, but I mean, Tanya knows, DC knows. If this was you, what would you do? That's my question all the time. Like, if this was you, how would you go about this? Like,
Yeah.
and if I didn't actually consider the opinion, y'all don't know the type of shit I be in right now. Like literally, there's so much stuff that I wanted to say, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna ask someone that has the best interest for me. Like, what do you think about this? How do you feel about this? How would you handle this?
yeah.
And I feel like it's very important to let kids know that their voice is heard as well. Like, take their yeah, don't let them walk all over you. There's a fine line. Again, parenting is
Yep.
hard as shit. It's one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Don't let them walk over you, but let them know they're heard. Let them know they have a voice. Let them know they have a say. Like, it's very, I never want Leo to feel how I felt growing up. Like, you got to do this because I said so. And you have to kiss that person high, and you have to kiss that person bye, and you have to let them cuddle you. No, the hell you don't. Set your
Body
bubble.
autonomy.
And don't let nobody else that you don't want in your bubble. Like, I want Leo to know you don't have to do anything. You don't have to. Mommy is always here to protect you. Mommy and daddy are always here to protect you no matter what. And we will always believe you, and we will always respect your boundaries. That is very important because I didn't have that when I was growing up. It was very much a because I said so. Because I said so. Because I'm the grown up here. Because you don't pay no bills. Because
Yeah.
I didn't ask you to bring me into this world. Why should I be paying bills? You asked for me. I didn't ask for you.
Yep.
Just respect goes both ways. I guess that's ultimately what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah.
Well, that's, I have to give it to my mom. My dad was a military man, so he wasn't around very much in my formative years. It was just my mom. And she never made me kiss grandma goodbye. She never made me do any of that. Never ever. If I didn't want to, I didn't have to. And I think if we teach children today that they have a voice, they have to be respectful and they have to be kind, but you don't have to let someone walk all over you. There's a fine line with that boundary.
Yeah.
And it's hard to navigate even as a grown-up. Am I allowing this person to walk all over me, or am I putting my foot down? And sometimes that it's going to hurt people's feelings, and you don't mean for that to happen, but it's bound to happen eventually. You can't light yourself on fire to keep other people warm. You just can't.
And another thing I wanted to touch on is kids have a very hard time, and I have a 3-year-old, so I know a very hard time like managing their emotions. You know, sometimes it's very hard for them, and I feel like we should give them the chance to explore said emotions. So I don't want to sound like oh woo hoo ha ha or whatever. You know, I don't want to sound like I give Leo too much freedom because I am still the adult here. But I do consider his feelings, and I don't ever want him to feel like I cannot express my feelings because mommy has her phone out right now. I have to swallow my feelings, and I can't say anything, and I cannot act out of character because mommy has her phone out.
Yep.
I never want Leo to feel that way. I want him to process his feelings and not. Let me tell you, half of the reason why I have so much anxiety and like depression and stuff is because growing up, I could not express myself that way. Like, I
Yeah.
know I'm making my parents sound horrible. I promise you they're not. They have a lot of work to do on themselves as well. And I can't sit here and say, like, you know, I mean, they kept me alive. They kept me alive. I never went hungry. Which, I mean, people go through hard times. So if you have or your parents ever did, I mean nothing by it. I'm just saying, like, my parents did what they could with what they had and with what they learned from their parents. So because I know how I feel now as an adult and as a mother, I don't ever want Leo to feel the way I felt before. Invalidated, like his opinion doesn't matter. It just goes back to the same thing. I want him to know what he thinks matters, what how he feels matters. That mommy's here and mommy will always believe him no matter what. Mommy will go to jail if someone hurts him.
Yeah.
So
Don't
I
forget
want
the
Leo
smiley
to always.
mugshot.
Yep.
Yep.
Girl, yes.
And I think there's a difference in, you know, I'm obviously a big fan of Dr. Steve Hassan. I've been reading some of his books, and he makes an interesting he differentiates between an authoritative parent and authoritarian parent. And like Janet was saying in the chat, and like what y'all are saying, there are some situations where you have to say, I'm keeping you safe. This isn't a discussion. We can't do that. But it's different. It's different if you're able to be more of an authoritative parent where you're not pushing um obedience at any cost, or saying yes without being able to have autonomy and being able to think through that decision. So again, I have lots of like ideas. I don't have any kids. I'm mostly a functional adult. My growing up situation was okay, but the one and I think Karina, you talking about your growing up situation and how you were able to pivot and make some changes, how you wanted to raise your family. My mom did the same thing. She grew up in an alcoholic home, and she said, "We're doing stuff differently here." And again, I drink. It's not that, but she had very dysfunctional relationships. Being able to communicate, a lot of therapy work had to go in, and it was night and day. It was night and day from what she went through and what the very hard work that she had to go through. So I just want to like commend you and for doing the work and saying like, hey, we're gonna pivot, and anyone can pivot. And I don't want to like rag on all these multi-level marketers and YouTubers and everything. Like, they can pivot at any time. And if they decide to pivot, I hope that all of the shit they did before with their kid, that there's room to give them grace and say, you know what, you're kind of being a douche and not advocating for your kid before, but that's incredible that you decided to change your mind. And I hope that every single one of them does change their mind. I hope they stop using their kids for personal profit.
Yeah, and once they do, it's okay to apologize to your child. If you mess up, it's okay to apologize to your child. Anywhere from this whole situation we're talking about here to blowing off on them or something. Like, because let me tell you again, I have a 3-year-old, so he drives me up the wall sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. And I have definitely like, hey, enough or whatever, and raise my voice at him. And that's not something that I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to talk to him. I'm still working on that. I'm not perfect by any means, but like It's definitely okay to lose your shit sometimes and then be like, listen, mommy should not have yelled. Hey, Aaron, mommy should not have said this. Mommy should not have, I'm sorry, mommy lost it. What is it that you want? Can I have a hug? Can I have a kiss? Are we good? Like,
Yeah.
Leo's only 3, but those are the words that I say. We good? Like, we okay? You want to give mommy a hug? I'm so sorry. Mommy should not have yelled at you. Do you want some time by yourself?
Yeah.
It's so simple to just give your kids that, like, and just anyone around you, like that make them feel safe. That's it. Make
That
them
was
feel safe.
That was one of the most impactful things that my parents did for us growing up. They were not perfect, I will say that. But one of the differentiators between my friends' parents and my parents growing up was my dad. When he did stuff, like when he yelled or when he did something wrong, when you have your parent look you in the eyes and say, "I was wrong for doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really sorry. Will you forgive me?" It is life-changing to see someone in an authority position not act too good to apologize to someone who is their kid or someone who has no control or no, like, isn't their boss or has no financial ability to push them into apologizing, and that humility that you see. And again, he's not perfect. My parents are not perfect. I'm just saying, you, Karina, doing that for your kid, it's impactful, and it impacted me. And I know that it's going to impact Leo when he grows up to say, "Wow, this is what it looks like to apologize. This is what it looks
And
like
it's
to
yeah,
say."
and it's okay to still work on it and like mess up, because I know even with my husband, with my partner, I still sometimes, I love him. That's my guy. Like,
Yeah,
that's my man's. Aaron loves it when I say that. That's my man's. Like, that's my love right there, you know?
yeah,
But sometimes I'm like, I'm ready to throw hands, my guy. And I'll like say something like not necessarily bad. And I think that's another thing that I took away from the relationship with my parents. Like, my dad was one of those, he was also an alcoholic, and he was one of those people that just blah 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 blah. He said some nasty shit to us, including my mom, me and my brother, but including my mom growing up. And he has yet to apologize for it. I'm 34. I'm about to be 34, and he's yet to apologize for it. So for me, I think what I took away from that situation is now when I get mad at my husband or at my kid, I just drop what I'm doing and I walk away, and I just woosah a little bit. Like, I just think about it. I just and my husband's like, I want to talk about it now. And I'm like, I need you to back up. Just back it up and give me like 10 minutes. Just give me 10 minutes. Why? Because I don't, yes, Janet, I'm always ready to throw hands. Y'all should know that by now. But I'm just like, I need 5-10 minutes and just let me be. Please let me cool down. I don't want to say anything I cannot take back. So just let me be.
yeah,
And even with him, like I said, sometimes I'll say something and I'll just like go off like, I have this one thing that I say to him, and I'm like, how do you not fall more? Like, how do you not, like, really? You did that? How the fuck do you not fall more, right? That's my, and we just say it messing around, you know? And then when I say it, when I'm mad, I'm like, I should not have said that. That was fucked up. I'm so sorry. Like, that is not something I should have said. And I apologize. And I feel like it takes a lot to apologize. But if you need to apologize, just do it. And also, don't do it again, because the I'm sorry means nothing if you keep repeating the same cycle. So I feel like there's always room to grow. There's always room to change your mind. Like, you can always try different things. The whole point of this is to just acknowledge people around you, especially children.
yeah.
Children grow up to be the people you raise them to be.
Yep.
Children treat other people how they have been treated. If you don't want a bunch of entitled douchebags walking around, then don't treat your kid like one.
Yeah.
That's it.
And acknowledge them, like they're forming, and what their answers matter. And again, you give them a little bit at a time and saying you can have autonomy over this, and as you grow and mature, you get more and more and more. Oh, did Janet say something? Janet, We just need to have a book of everything Janet writes in the live chat because Janet, you are hysterical. It's also not letting pride get in the way of having a healthy relationship with people and knowing when to take accountability for when you're wrong. And Karina, you
Yep.
said something really interesting. You said, I need to walk away. Give me a minute to process through what I'm feeling, and I'm going to come back. And working through conflict looks really different for a lot of different people. And when you can show, again, your kids that conflict resolution doesn't just look like this. Whatever that does look like in a healthy way, whether you need to work through that with a therapist or a counselor, you know, doing that is healthy. Emotions are healthy. They help give us information. And I grew up not thinking that emotions were the best thing on the planet. I am a very emotional person, and it was difficult resolving that as an adult, knowing that I'm not extremely broken because I feel things really deeply. So it's just, I don't know. I just thought that was really impactful that you're doing that and you're trying to work on that now with, your spouse and your kid. And also in the midst of that, while you're learning, you're willing to say, hey, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Will you forgive me? Do you need a moment to, Leo, do you need a moment by yourself? You know what I mean? Like giving them the freedom to say, yeah, you know what? You did hurt my feelings. I want a break from you, right? I want a small break from you, So,
And
Well,
I
you
want to
also got
say
to think of it this way too. With kids, they've got so much information thrown at them all the time between school,
they're little
home,
sponges.
internet, whatever. They're little sponges. So whatever the parents are the one that they're going to model the most. And if they've got shitty role models, they're going to look for anybody modeling a similar behavior online. And I cannot stress this enough. Be the person you want your child to be and be humble. I mean, yesterday I got into it. Was it yesterday, the day before, where I got into it with my dad and we were yelling at each other back and forth? He went and took 10 minutes. I took 10 minutes and we both apologized for yelling. And then Sean came in and said, it really scares me because he's got sensitive hearing from his autism. And I said, I'm really, really sorry that we were yelling. We'll try not to do it again. But that's just how shit rolls. You guys get into arguments because you're up each other's asses 24/7. So the way that I see it, bringing it all the way back to how these Huns are using their children to earn a paycheck, they're modeling the behavior that their future children will become. Whether
yeah.
it's entitled douchebags, predators, prey, they are turning their children into what they are.
Yeah, and it's again, if you're watching this, I don't know who is going to end up finding these videos. I never expected Ashley Molstad or Shannon Harvey to find the video I did with Amy and then block me. So the chance is there that maybe someone who is exploiting your kid for money is going to find Tanya's video or Karina's video. And I hope that you make it far enough, and maybe you're at this point, I'm talking to future, whatever, but that you're listening to this and you have that little bit of an uncomfortable feeling in your head that says, oh no, am I doing that with my kid? And taking the time to really think that through is important. There's no rush in terms of having to put your kid on camera again and have them mix up an oil recipe or say how great that a supplement was that really helped them go to sleep or whatever. You're the one that signed up for your multi-level marketing company. You should be the one selling it. You should not be, in my opinion, exploiting your kids to do that. They don't have the capacity to say yes in a way that's actually a free yes, because you're the one that's providing the roof over their head, the food that they eat, the nourishment, the clothing, the safe space. And if they're thinking in their mind, if I say no, am I still going to have the same level of care that I've had before? They might not logically think through it like that, but kids do. They generally make decisions that make them feel the safest. So, are you putting them in a position that they can't.
Children should never wonder if they're going to be safe with their parents. Like they should never. That's not a thought that should cross through their mind.
Yeah,
Ever.
and you,
It's
yep,
just not.
and you shouldn't be asking them to do things that would put them even close to having to ask that question for themselves. And as a 3-year-old, as a 4-year-old, all the way up to 18, and that's my like non-parenting perspective. But just please think about it. Just at least entertain the idea that maybe what you are doing with your kid in your multi-level marketing company isn't on the up and up. You can pivot at any time. You can.
Absolutely. And I would actually encourage anybody who has that little pit in their stomach of, oh man, am I doing this to my kid? To sit back and take a long think on it. Don't be like, oh my God, I'm doing this. I'm such a shitty parent. That's not what I'm saying.
That's not what we're trying to do here.
That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to say, okay, you did this now. You're sorry. What are you going to do about it now?
Yeah.
Are you going to go forward and continue to use your children to make a paycheck? Or are you going to stop and make it about you instead of your children?
Yeah, because it's okay to make mistakes. It's just not okay to keep making the same very big mistake. In this case, exposing your children. Like, and I want to say, I by no means am perfect. I still mess up all the time. But one thing I will never do is expose my child that way. And again, I guess it just depends also what you go through, because for me, I talked about the relationship with my parents, but also I think one thing that was very, and not to like dig up old wounds and shit, but like one of the things that really put things in perspective for me was knowing that strangers had access to my kid now because of information about me that was leaked, like me getting doxxed. That was huge. Like for me, feeling like I could not keep my child safe no matter what. And I know like the whole psychology of this does not make sense to a lot of people, because trust me, I've gotten those DMs or like the change your number DMs or whatever. Listen, if I have not chosen to expose my kid, what makes you think that you have the right to expose my kid? Especially when you have a kid my kid's age. So like that, it just puts, I guess, things that you go through, things that happen to you, put things in perspective more. Like I would never expose anyone's children that way, no matter how shitty of a person they were. That's just something that would never cross my mind, like ever. So if you don't want other people to expose your kids, you cannot expose your kids yourself. Like, keep them babies safe. For the love of God, keep them babies safe. Do you know how many sickos and perverts and just nasty and horrible people are out here just waiting to get a hold on your babies? Don't do it. Please don't. Protect your kids. And again, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay, but don't keep making the same mistakes and something that's going to put your children in danger, like in actual physical danger. Because I think people that think, oh, this is just social media, there's no way someone could get to my kid. Ma'am, sir, like, do you not know that this is 2022 and people are fucking wild out here in these streets?
Yeah. And like, even if you're not aware,
it's a wild west out here.
Yeah, it is. And even if, you can say, I've never run into that, so it doesn't exist. That is not a logical, like, there's no logical resolution to that, because it's not reality. Just because you're not aware of something doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So when we're talking about actual predators out here on the internet who are exploiting minors for their own benefit, obviously I'm not talking about the parents, but I'm not criminals in terms of people who harm children for nefarious purposes. They're out there. Do the research for yourself. Go on and look at trusted primary sources. Like I can try to find some and list it in the description. I've listed every video I use in the video that I blurred. It's unblurred source material in my description, so you can go hear what has happened with some of these parents and stuff. The article that I read from is in the description as well. But again, if this video is the first time you've ever heard about exploiting your kids for personal profit, I hope that you take the information and do your own research. Don't let us press you into something, and don't necessarily let your shame of maybe hold you back, like your shame of what you've done with your kids in terms of using them to sell stuff, hold you back from pivoting. It's not a sunk cost fallacy. It's not that, hey, I've done it wrong this many years, I can't change. You can change at any point. You can, for the benefit of your kid, for the advocacy of your kid, for advocating for someone who cannot advocate for themselves. That should be the motivation to be able to pivot. So
I agree.
I'd also like to mention that as judgy as a bitch as I come off, like trust me, I know. I'm always open to having a conversation with you. If you're one of these parents that are, I doubt it that anybody's gonna reach out to me because my reputation precedes me. But I am open to a conversation. Like honestly, I am open to having a conversation with you and hearing you out and your thoughts. And if you ask for it, give you advice, or like what would I do if I was in your shoes, or if I completely depended on my kid or whatever. I am always open, no matter what the conversation is. So long as you come at me respectfully, I'm open for a conversation anytime. Literally anytime.
Yeah, and both Tanya and Karina are curious in the sense that I've asked both of them questions before, and I will tell one specific situation with Karina. She was passionately and accurately speaking about something, and I said, "Hey, do you mind if I ask a question? I am confused." And I've done this in the Discord before with Tanya, and Dave knows too that I'm like, I'm not fully learned in this area. I have questions. Is this a safe place to be able to ask them? Because I would like to learn from informed people so I can change my thinking if I need to. And Karina is always like, great, what's your question? And Tanya's been the same way. So if you're hearing this on my channel or on their channels, when they say that they are actually willing and open to having conversations, they really mean it. And I would talk to them first because they actually have kids, and I'm just someone tapping on the internet.
No, but you know what? For someone who doesn't have children, you have a very, I feel like you have a good point of view. Because I mean, you hear people all the time, if those are my kids, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You literally have no clue. And you know why I say that? Because I was one of those. I was like, if those are my kids, I beat that ass. Ask me how many times I spanked Leo. None.
I spanked Sean one time, and I will fully admit it, but it was because we were in the middle of Target parking lot and he almost got hit by a car.
Oh,
and I put the fear of death into that child real quick. I whooped that child's ass, and he's never done it again. He's either touching the car or touching my hand. He's 9. But he's got the mentality of maybe a 6 or a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have to understand that. And my biggest takeaway from all of this is, please, if you have any questions, I love the fact that DC, even though she doesn't have kids, her heart tells me volumes that she would do
not to sound MLM-y. Not to sound MLM-y, but her heart is in the right place. It really is.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't. Just know that.
Same.
Yeah, I really have been, even though I'm a small channel, I've always really appreciated Karina and Tanya and the other people that have been willing to have conversations. And I have found so much value personally from being able to talk with people, not just yelling at people from their DMs or being upset about a post or whatever, and being able to say, hey, let's have a conversation. And in that conversation, I personally have learned so much, and I've appreciated Aaron and Julie Joe and Karina and Tanya and Kirsty and Amy and all the Beachbody people who have said, hey, this is what's going on. There's some really bad stuff going on. And it's okay, let's learn.
No, I agree. Not to sound like a creepy friend, but if you knew some of the shit that I've said, Aaron and JJ, but more specifically Aaron, some of the stuff I've come at her with, and the amount of zen that woman has, the amount of woosah she has, and for her to be half Mexican, I don't know where she get that shit from, because I'm like, Aaron, I'm ready to mess somebody up. She's like, why don't you get you some popcorn and some wine, and we'll talk about this in 20 minutes. I'm like, bet. By the time I'm done with my popcorn and wine, she's like, how you feel now? And I'm like, you're right. You're right. You're always right. So just, talk to someone. That's the point here. Like, that's the point here. And we are open to be that someone if you so choose to us to be.
Even Erin or JJ or anybody in the community that, that you see here in the chat that's on Instagram. A lot of these times they'll list their email in their description boxes as well. Hit them up in an email. If you want to remain anonymous, stay anonymous. No judgment. If you're trying to pivot and don't know how, please come to somebody and we can try to walk you through it. And don't just continue to make the same mistake over and over and over again because you don't know how to get out of it.
I'll say this too. I meant to say it earlier, but it slipped my mind. So as the cycle breaker, just know it's not easy to be the cycle breaker. It's not easy. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I got it all together because it's not easy. As good as a mom as I consider myself to be, not to toot my own horn, but to toot, I'm still working with my relationship with my parents. Like literally, it's a everyday sort of thing. Why? Because I want Leo to see, grandma and grandpa messed up a little bit, but mommy got this. Like she gave him a chance. She tried to work it out. And that's just what I want Leo to see, like love takes you a lot further. Being comprehensive with other people, giving people a second chance, working on it. Now, with the relationship with my parents, I want to say I had to do a lot with the fact that our relationship was really messed up. That is why I'm putting extra into it now to fix it. Because I know that it was partly my fault, like the way things were between them and I. So now I'm doing like my hardest to try and, because I know that I'm not going to have them around forever. So just heads up, it ain't easy being cheesy and being the one that breaks the cycle. But it's well worth it. Like I sleep so much better every night. I am so much more appreciative of those good moments that I do have with my parents, of the way Leo looks at me when I do something nice for his grandma and his grandpas, and how he sees me. It's so worth it. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to do, but it is so worth it. And I would do it 1,000 times over.
And sometimes you just have to zip it and watch. Just zip your lip, even though you want to talk all that mess to somebody.
I think that's the hardest part for me.
If you sit on it and wait and formulate what you want to say, it comes out so much better. And it doesn't come out so accusatory or aggressive. And at the end of it, you'll be a better person for it.
Yeah, and also not everything. Yeah, and not everything deserves a reaction or needs a reaction. Just sometimes you just gotta let it go. Just let it go. Same thing with your kids. Let it go. You're right. My name is Karina, not Elsa. Okay, Tanya.
Us giving grace to our parents will help our kids give us grace for our mistakes, because whatever we change for the positive, we will still make mistakes and need their grace. Yeah. And my when my parents got married, because of my mom's parents and the turmoil and the dysfunction that was there were some pretty strict boundaries that were in place. But the interesting thing was, while we didn't get the full picture, they did not trash my grandparents in front of us. So while we didn't have a super close relationship with them, we were still able to form our own ideas of who they were when we did get to go see them in Florida and when they were still alive. So it was definitely a gift to have that. And so, Karina, you working on your relationship with your parents, I'm sure is going to be an incredible gift for Leo and Tanya. Same thing when with your parents and showing Sean, hey, this is how we work through stuff. And I think that's incredible. I think that's an incredible example. And it's not easy. Pivoting is not easy. Again, like Karina said, being the cycle breaker isn't
It's
easy.
hard. It's a lot of
And
work.
I hope, I guess the overall takeaway is, please don't exploit your kids. And
Take care of them babies.
yeah, and don't be held back by the shame if you are that person who has been exploiting your kids for profit. Take it as an opportunity to pivot. And if you need some help, reach out to Tanya, reach out to Karina. You can reach out to me too. I don't have any kids. Aaron's a great person to follow. I normally link a ton of great creators in my description. I've linked Karina and Tanya there too. Find someone that, or a licensed professional. Talk to someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I hope that
It's have to be
you know,
done.
while Tanya and Karina and I tried to talk pretty directly about stop exploiting your kids, I hope that there's also you felt that there's room that we hope you change. We hope that there's room to stop exploiting your kids too. So
Yeah, also everything was our opinion, and it was just our opinion. So don't take
yeah,
anything that we said as medical advice or anything like that. Please don't.
it's our opinion based
Uh,
on our experience and what we've seen and what we've responded to based on what we've seen on social and our perspective that
Yep.
I think that the medical doctor should be giving the medical advice, not the multi-level marketing reps. So,
Yep.
well,
Preach it.
I'm gonna close down the stream at 2 hours and 1 minute, and
This was great.
I really enjoyed it. I'm so stoked that Tanya and Karina are always game to say, yeah, what time are we riding on the stream? So,
Yep.
they're
We
they're
ride it on.
if you haven't subscribed to them, please you can just drop down and click on the links in the description and go over there and follow them. And we appreciate the live chat crew. Y'all are the best. And replay crew, big spot in my heart in a non-culty way for you guys. Love having
Amen.
conversations with you in the comments. And we'll see you next time. So
Bye,
bye guys.
guys.